All right, hello everybody. We're just going to give a few seconds for participants to file in here. When we reach 100, I'll go over the tech. And that was quick. All right, so thanks for joining everybody. Before I introduce you to the moderator and the presenters, I just want to cover how this works from a technical perspective. This is Zoom webinar. Very similar to Zoom meeting, except that your microphones and your videos are not enabled, so you don't have to worry about us seeing or hearing you. As a result, you'll want to use the chat function and the Q&A function for any kind of interaction with either each other or the panelists. We ask that you reserve the chat function for commentary, discussion, or any technical issues you might have. If you want just panelists to see it, then I think by default, the dropdown for the to window is all panelists. But if you want everyone to see it, then make sure you select all panelists and attendees. For questions related to the content that you have for the panelists, for any reason, just use the Q&A function though. Makes it much easier for us to handle the questions and make sure that we can address as many as possible. So with that, I'll make sure that's typed out in the chat, but without further ado, just want to hand it off to Melanie Gottlieb.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon. I am Melanie Gottlieb, Deputy Director of ACRO, and I'd like to welcome you to today's ACRO Coffee Break. It's a pleasure to be online with all of you today as we navigate the challenges presented by the COVID-19 crisis together. Next slide, Mike. Today's webinar is part of a three-part series on business continuity for managing documents, specifically transcripts, during this time of crisis. As we've monitored listservs, fielded individual member questions by email, and in other coffee breaks, we've noted that many universities do not yet have sufficient capacity to both send and receive transcripts electronically, and this crisis is causing numerous challenges in continuing their business operations. In this series, we hope to share with you easy and inexpensive ways to ramp up your institutional capacity to manage this crucial function of your offices more efficiently while remote. Last week, Parchment shared with you their solution. You can view the archive on our website. And next week, members of the Speedy Committee will share their DIY solutions, not all super technical, with you. There are links to both of these at the end of the slide deck or on our website. Today, we've invited longtime ACRO partner, the National Student Clearinghouse, to talk about their solution to the challenges of transcript delivery during this crisis, as well as give you updates on their resources to help you stay informed as you navigate the challenges that have arisen due to the current crisis. As always, we're hopeful that our technology will not fail us. This is a very large Zoom call with a number of panelists working at the mercy of our home Wi-Fis. We're not using video and your mics are muted to save on bandwidth. There will be Q&A at the end of the session, and with so many of you on the call, we know that we might not be able to answer all of your questions in the immediate. Rest assured, any unanswered questions will be collected and added to the ever-growing list of policy questions that our guidance team is working through every day. And it may resurface in an article in our Connect newsletter, in a specific guidance document, or on another coffee break. Next slide. As you navigate the challenges in this crisis, your association is here to connect you with network colleagues to work through this together in this unprecedented disruption in our profession. We've opened up our content vaults to the higher education community through our free 3-month membership option. If your membership has lapsed, or if there are others on campus that you want to have access to our resources to support you through this transition, we hope you will consider this. Just check our website or email membership@acro.org in order to exercise this option. Next slide. Just a quick note that the new ARTG, the Academic Record and Transcript Guide, has been delivered. It is available at acro.org in both Kindle and print format, and you can order it in the bookstore. There are reminders about business continuity in that guide, and so it's worth checking out. ACROs work diligently to provide specific guidance to institutions as they navigate decision-making on their campuses and to adapt and serve their students. To build our guidance, we use ACRO established standards and re-envision them through the lens of the current COVID-19 crisis, and then consult with subject matter experts from our board of directors and amongst the membership and across higher education. Who is the guidance team? Executive Director Mike Riley, myself, Associate Executive Directors Tom Green and Tina Deneen, and Director of Research Wendy Kilgore, all of us former campus-based professionals with years of experience, along with the Director of Government Relations, William Gill. While this is not the way ACRO typically releases new guidance, we're balancing our processes of member development with the need to address the current crisis with something immediate to support you as you navigate this new normal. We want to give you guidance that is thoughtful and well-developed yet timely. If you have suggestions for the guidance team to consider, please don't hesitate to contact us through the contact form at acro.org/COVID-guidance. Since the onset of the current crisis, ACRO has deployed 3 practice snapshot surveys to gain insight into the challenges and evolving practices at our institutions. I'd like to share quickly a couple of data items relevant to today's discussion. You can find the complete results of the 3 surveys on our website. Next slide. The first piece of data I want to share is on official transcript printing during the COVID-19 crisis. Of the 76% of the respondents who are still printing official transcripts at this time, 64% of them are going to their campuses to print those. Another 13% are using a third-party vendor, and another 13% are doing it in their home offices. Think transcript paper, printer, and seal on your dining room table. Next slide. Another pertinent question is around changes in practice that are under consideration or have already been made on how to accept official high school transcripts in response to COVID-19. Of the 87% of respondents who do receive high school transcripts, and the 34% of those who are already considering or who have made changes, 83% are accepting unofficial transcripts in lieu of the official for the time being. Next slide. We have the same question around college transcripts. And so amongst the 21% who are considering or who have already made changes, 73% of those are accepting unofficial transcripts. Next slide. This last slide is around the receipt of transcripts. Is around the delivery of transcripts. And among the 21% who are considering or who have already made changes, 59% of those are moving to electronic delivery through a transcript vendor, not necessarily EDX. Next slide. Now I'd like to turn the mic over to Paul Taylor from the National Student Clearinghouse.
It's always important to unmute. Thanks, Melanie. Those previous slides were incredible and very revealing. As I looked at the calendar this morning, I realized that 3 weeks ago, we should have been all leaving ACRO about noon, heading for our homes and our campuses. And what a change this has made. So let me just say good afternoon. On behalf of Rick Torres, the CEO of the National Student Clearinghouse, and our more than 300 employees across the country, I want to thank you for participating in the coffee break with the Clearinghouse. I'm joining you today from Lexington, Kentucky, where I, like most of you, am sheltering in place at home. I mean, who could have imagined that this would be our new normal? We're placing the agenda up there just so you can see it, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I want to go ahead and say, who could have imagined even a few short weeks ago that you wouldn't be spending the end of April getting ready to process final grades, produce transcripts, plan for commencement, send diplomas, all the time with looking at the beginning of your summer term and preparing to welcome your incoming class. Oh, wait, you are doing that now but with many incredible new challenges. One of the unique features of my sheltering experience is that I'm joined by my wife, Kim, who's also working at home, like many of you, I'm sure. One of the differences is that Kim is the University Registrar at the University of Kentucky. So while I am hearing from many of you about your challenges, I'm also experiencing firsthand through Kim things that would have been unthinkable way back in January when the term began. You know, it's hard to imagine that this graduating class will be the first ever whose commencement is conducted virtually or delayed or canceled completely. Pass-fail options that were not available in February are suddenly the norm. Every day, each of us read about new challenges for campuses while watching statewide budget projections plummet. Schools are furloughing, cutting costs, and changing the landscape daily. As someone who's been part of the higher education community for almost 50 years, hard to believe, and who proudly served as ACRO's president a few years ago, I'm acutely aware as we grapple with COVID-19 and its impact on the future of how unfathomable it all seems. So our purpose today, and thanks to ACRO, is to acknowledge the problems and challenges all of you are facing, to let you know that the Clearinghouse continues as always to be your partner in this new today we're living in, and offer our support to you in any way we can going forward. You can glean from our agenda that we want to talk about what we are doing today, including supporting you through COVID-19, but also to discuss how we can work with you in other ways tomorrow. To begin, I'd like to provide a couple of statistics that you might find interesting. They're similar to what you saw from ACRO, but in a little different perspective. So first of all, it's important as you look at the National Student Clearinghouse to understand that we're a community. We're an organization, we're a nonprofit, but we're a member institution comprised of more than 3,700 of you. And because we have that membership, that club that we all belong to, it allows us to receive from you 99% of the U.S. post-secondary education enrollments for Title IV institutions. So think of the coverage there, and 94% of the U.S. four-year degrees. So that's currently sitting in our database that's updated frequently. So this allowed us last year to perform 15 million enrollment verifications, 1,150 institutions that are using transcript services, and 4.5 million degree verifications. But look at this next slide. I asked one of our colleagues at the Clearinghouse to run a report for me that shows the usage from March 1. Now think about the dates, March 1 to April 24th. That's all we're talking about here. So you sent to us more than 10,000 enrollment reports, enrollment files. You sent an additional 1,537 degree files. If you look at the purple, these are external requesters, talk about staggering, and think about what this means to you and your institution, that the Clearinghouse responded to 2.3 million requests for enrollment verification, almost 750,000 degree verifications. Your students, and for those institutions, there are about 1,000 of you that participate with student self-service with the Clearinghouse, 641,000 hits. These are hits that students made directly to us to print enrollment certificates, to order, to do various kinds of things in student self-service that didn't call you. And then our transcript services delivered almost 165,000 paper transcripts and over 400,000 electronic delivered transcripts. To me, that was I knew it was going to be interesting, but I was kind of shocked at what I actually saw. So next slide. I think what this shows me, and hopefully will demonstrate to you, is that the Clearinghouse is fully operational. Enrollment reporting, StudentTracker, MyHub, which we'll talk about, transcript services, post-secondary data partnership, verification services, and reverse transfer. We're alive and well, and while we're all doing things in a different way, we are here serving you, our constituents and our partners. Next. So I'm going to turn this over to Sean McTighe now. Sean, it's all yours with enrollment reporting. And I know there'll be lots of people who are very interested in what's going on in that landscape today. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
I'm having trouble hearing Sean.
Is that better?
Yeah, I could hear that just now. Go ahead and see. I'll let you know if there's still some problems.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to provide you with an update on enrollment reporting today. So if you could advance to the next slide. So at this point in time, as Paul stated, we are fully operational and it is business as usual. I know a question came in to the chat about, are the stats the same this year, this time, as they are last year? For enrollment and degree verify processing in particular, yes. The file processing is actually very similar. If not, we're actually getting in more files this year than we were last year. Our turnaround time on enrollment files in particular is about 3 days, a little more than 3 days, and that includes time at the institution. And so we are rocking and rolling. Everybody is working remotely and are respecting the stay-at-home order, but we have had no issues transitioning to a fully remote team, and our support availability continues to be there for you. We are available via email, and we also have our phones up and running. Our direct email address, in case you need it, is schoolops. It's SCHOOLOPS @studentclearinghouse.org. And then our phone number is our standard phone number. It's 703-742-4200. And then it's option 5 followed by option 2. Our operating hours on our phones are 9 to 12, and then 1 to 5 Monday through Thursday, and then 1 to 5 on Fridays. As far as the COVID-19 guidance, the Department of Ed issued some guidance a couple of weeks ago. We have posted how that impacts clearinghouse enrollment reporting out on the Compliance Central website. So if you check out our Compliance Central blog, that's available at compliancecentral.org. We are continuing to keep that updated as we have conversations with NSLDS and FSA, and as the department posts new guidance. So that would be the best way to see how the COVID-19 and updates from NSLDS and FSA are affecting your clearinghouse enrollment and compliance reporting. If you have concerns about being able to report timely, at the clearinghouse, we can make adjustments to your schedule to prevent the receipt of regular notifications and reminders. But we want to stress that you also reach out to NSLDS. There are things that NSLDS can do from a compliance perspective that the clearinghouse cannot do, and that may include providing waivers or some additional leeway that you would need to talk to NSLDS directly about. So in the next couple of slides, what I'd like to do is particularly focus on some of the enhancements that we're working on, and then in particular the SIP year 2020 that I know has been on a lot of schools' minds. We've gotten quite a few questions about the SIP code enhancement, and so we would like to give you an update on where we stand with that. So for the SIP code 2020 update, we anticipate that NSLDS will be providing guidance in the next few weeks. We had a call with them recently, last week, and they plan to send communication out within the next week or so. That includes comprehensive guidance on how schools can report the 2020 SIP codes. They have not provided a deadline for NSLDS reporting at this time. What that does mean, though, is that the COD will require the 2020 SIP year SIP code values for the upcoming 2021-2022 award cycle. However, you can continue to report the 2010 codes in NSLDS for the indefinite future as we look to program what those changes will be. So from a clearinghouse perspective, until we get guidance, the official guidance from NSLDS, we have some challenges in programming the complete solution. And so what we're doing is we're taking a phased approach to the SIP year 2020 in order to accommodate those schools that want to early adopt and to make sure that we can put in some functionality without receiving the full programming and testing requirements from the Department of Ed that are expected within the next couple of weeks. Next slide, please. So for our phase 1 solution, if the institution reports a SIP year that is not 2010 or 2020, we will auto-remediate the SIP year back to 2010. This is current functionality that exists today. So if you were to report a SIP year that is 2009, for example, let me pause for a second. It looks like there's some mic challenges. So I'm going to try and restart my session and see if that helps.
And thanks for your patience, everyone. We should have him restarted in just a minute.
So as we're waiting, are there questions that need to come before the group at this point, Melanie, or are those questions being answered individually at this point? I did see one question. Let me comment. Somebody said, were the stats from March 1 to April 24 the same as last year? It's something I didn't run last year. I don't have any idea. I just found it amazing as a former practitioner to realize that there'd be that kind of activity, you know, within that, what is that, a 7-week period? So that's the answer to that question.
Hey, Paul, there is a question we could probably answer relatively quickly. We do have a question about, are there educational institutions in the Philippines and countries in Africa that send e-transcripts via NSC? And if so, are there any stats? So maybe you could talk about any international, if there are any.
So Melanie, I do think that we have had international institutions, a very few, very, very few. That's a question that I'd like to ask maybe Sue Ledwell to get back. She's monitoring this chat as well, to get back and see if we can get an answer to that right away. Institutions may be able to send, they wouldn't be able to receive, but I do think there are a few international.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is Sue Ledwell. I'll just jump in. We have folks receiving all around the world and set up through our ETX service. I've had some questions about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll need to talk to you probably individually about your needs on the sending of transcripts through us. There are privacy laws and things that we need to address. So we'll take that offline and answer that for you.
Thanks, Sue.
Paul, I'm back.
Welcome back, Sean.
Yep, he's so much
you.
better.
All right, awesome. Sorry about that. I think I had a bad connection, so I recalled in. Hopefully this will help significantly. So let me go back to the beginning of the slide and start from scratch, and hopefully that will help folks get a better understanding of where we're at with the SIP year 2020 enhancement with our phase 1. Essentially, NSLDS has not provided a requirement on when they expect schools to transition to the SIP year 2020 codes at this point in time. They are required for COD reporting. So your institution is going to be required to use those for the 2020-2021 academic or financial aid award year. But as far as your NSLDS reporting, you can continue to use the 2010 codes for the indefinite future. Some schools can't support the 2 sets of books, and so we are implementing a phase 1 solution that will hopefully support that. So here's the rundown of our phase 1. Basically, if the institution reports a SIP year that is not 2010 or 2020, we're going to auto-remediate that back to 2010. Now, that's current functionality. Essentially, if you do report the year as 2020, we're going to keep it. If it's anything other than 2010 or 2020, we're going to auto-remediate back to 2010. We're going to validate that the SIP code that you're reporting is acceptable within the associated SIP year. So if it's only acceptable for 2020, then we're going to look to make sure that the SIP code that you're reporting matches the SIP year that you're reporting, and it's 2020 as well. If it's not, then we're going to throw an error. When we throw these errors, these will be internal errors for us, and then we're going to work with your institution to update the SIP year or the SIP code based on the instruction that you provide us. All of this is going to be in phase 1 to make sure that we can deploy something as soon as possible while we wait final instructions from NSLDS so that we can program the rest of the solution. If you could advance to the next slide, please. So there are some things to keep in mind. If you do choose to implement the 2020 SIP codes early, like I said earlier, the clearinghouse has not received the programming instructions from NSLDS. NSLDS plans to publish those in the next week or so via electronic announcement. Our understanding is it's going to be a pretty comprehensive and lengthy announcement. But once we get those instructions, we'll be able to start programming a more comprehensive solution. It's our understanding that there is going to be some new functionality that they're rolling out for SIP code changes. That new functionality is going to take place of withdrawing or Xing out a student. So if that new functionality isn't leveraged, there could be an impact to SULA. So for those schools that do early adopt, unfortunately, the clearinghouse will not have this new functionality in place because we don't have the requirements for it, and it'll take us some time to get that functionality in place. So schools who early adopt will need to continue to X or W out students that are moving SIP codes or having a SIP code change. So there could be impacts to SULA. The other thing to keep in mind is once a SIP year 2020 and code combination has been reported for a student, the school cannot revert back to the old 2010 codes. NSLDS will not accept a 2010 code after a 2020 SIP year code combination has been reported for a student. So we are continuing to work on phase 1. We are hopeful that we will get that deployed sometime in the next month or so. And we will keep our schools updated via our blog and email communication. And then once the new requirements come out, we will be able to better estimate what phase 2 looks like and when we'll be able to roll out this new functionality, especially when it comes to the SIP code changes.
All right, so it's my turn. Sorry, Sean, did you have something else to add?
Nope, I was just going to say, if there are any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A and we will address those as they come up. And I will transition it over to you, Samantha.
Thanks, Sean. So what I'm going to talk about now is how the clearinghouse can solve your transcript and documentation needs as of today. Next slide. So the clearinghouse's transcript solution at a high level allows a student to come to our public ordering site without requiring a sign-in or registration to place their order in 3 quick, easy steps. Once the order is placed, we send the order over to you, the school, to process and fulfill the request. Once we get the transcript back, we send it off to the requester, either directly to a receiving school system or state system,
an educational organization, such as a centralized application service, or a CAS, or an individual. More to come on the options, but we can integrate with any SIS, including Ellucian, PeopleSoft, Genzabar, SAP, and all others for touch-free processing and fulfillment of orders. Next slide. So we have 3 different service levels available that will meet each and every school's needs. All levels of our transcript services offer a multitude of features, but a couple common features that I want to point out across all service levels are: there's no cost to the institution to use our ordering, fulfillment, and exchange transcript services. We have online, email, and phone support for both students and schools free of charge to you, the school, and the student. We have same-day printing and mailing of secure paper transcripts and same-day delivery of electronic transcripts. We have school-specific configurations meeting the needs of any and every school. And we have a multitude of different reports, including financial reports, volume, and top destination reports. We do collect fees on behalf of your school, and we do pay credit card fees and don't push them to you, the school, to have to pay. We also provide monthly remittance of any monies collected on your behalf. Next slide. So our first service option is our fast service. This meets your school's immediate needs for 24/7 online ordering and fulfillment of transcripts. We can have your school up and live within this service option within 1 day. There is no internal IT resources needed to get the service up and running. And we have a multitude of different delivery options, including state-of-the-art secure electronic and secure print mail delivery. Next slide. If your school needs a more automated exchange of receiving and fulfilling orders, our faster solution can meet your needs. We can have you running within 2 weeks. There is some IT resources required, but this service automates the exchange of orders, status attachments, and electronic transcripts between your school's SIS and the clearinghouse via secure data files exchanged on our FTP. The service does eliminate any data entry required by your staff, and it speeds up the processing and fulfillment time. There are limited development resources needed for from your school to get this service up and running, but this is a great next step after getting the fast solution live for your students and alumni. Next slide. For a real-time automated and integrated ordering and fulfillment solution, our fastest service can be implemented within 4 weeks or less with any SIS. This is a real-time verification of the student or alumni and presentation of transcript holds during the ordering process. It allows paper and electronic fulfillment and delivery after hours, on weekends, and on holidays, so your staff does not need to be available for orders to be processed. 95% or more of orders flow through without any staff intervention, and electronic delivery happens within 15 minutes or less. IT resources are required for connection and configuration during the beginning of the implementation. And this is a great all-around solution for every institution who needs a real-time, quick, easy, and touch-free ordering and fulfillment solution. Next slide. So as a recap, all of our solutions are free to your institution. We can get you up and running with our fast 24/7 online ordering and fulfillment solution today, and any of our automated or integrated faster or fastest solutions within 2 to 4 weeks. So we can meet your school's needs today, as well as in the upcoming weeks, to get orders flowing through to completion and out to your students and alumni and their recipients as soon as possible. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the clearinghouse support, we offer support to our schools, you all, from our implementation team for the beginning to end process of each of our solutions. And you also have your customer success manager available via email and phone, along with your regional director. We also offer student support free of cost. We have our customer service line available via phone, email, online chat, and we also have a help center and FAQ available for your students as well. So we offer support for not just you, the institutions, but for the students as well to answer any questions on our transcript services, our student self-service, enrollment, along with all of our other services. Next slide. So how does the ordering solution work? As I mentioned, it's a three-step process online for your students to order. They can order on any device, including a mobile phone, tablet, or on their laptop or PC. No account setup or registration is required for the student to order their transcript, and we don't keep any data that is not needed, including credit card information or your student's SSN or personal information. We offer rich notifications such as text and emails to the students to keep them updated on the status of their order. And our ordering website is certified accessible WCAG 2.AA. Next. So we offer a direct link to your school's ordering platform, and we do brand it with your school's logo and banner color. And we, as I mentioned, have configurable ordering options. So of course we collect the student's name, date of birth, and if you require student ID or SSN to help find that student, we can collect that on your behalf as well. We do ask if the student's currently enrolled, and if they're not, we can also ask a legacy archive question. And what this means is if your student cannot provide if your school cannot provide an electronic transcript prior to a certain year, so if you have records on microfiche or in a legacy system that you cannot provide electronically, we can ask this question on your behalf, and the student would only get the paper delivery options and no electronic options for them if they attended prior to that certain year. We also collect approximate years of attendance to help find your student if they cannot be found when they get to your system. Next slide. For our recipients, we have a multitude of different recipient options, as I mentioned. So two that I really want to point out are our college and university list, as well as our education, organization, application, service, and scholarship. Of course, a student can send the transcript to an employer other or themselves, but we want to talk about our in-network exchange. Next slide. So when the student does select either school, college or university, or application, service, educational organization, or scholarship, we do ask the student if they want to send it to a specific department, and if that school's department participates in receiving via our exchange network, we do default that option to our electronic exchange network. If they are choosing someone outside of the network or an individual or themselves, they do get all of the delivery options. And as I mentioned, all of our ordering services have customizable features for your school, including future processing options, different transcript types, and we do collect the purpose of the transcript. The student can also upload additional documents that they want sent with their transcript that your school can process. We do also follow, of course, FERPA compliance and ask the student to sign a consent form, verifying that that is the student that is ordering the transcript and that your school can release their records. So we do offer, of course, the electronic signature, which is the quick and easiest method, but if the student cannot sign electronically for any reason, we do offer our paper consent form to be printed and hand signed as well as sent back to us. Here's an example of a text message. We do keep the student notified of the status of their order throughout the process. So we do send email notifications as well as text messages to the students who opt in for this option. So they have 24/7 live updates of their order. Next. Our electronic PDF delivery, which is outside of our network, is delivered via the Download Center, and we deliver these securely via the Adobe lifecycle process. So we do add in a blue ribbon digital signature security at the top of each electronic PDF transcript, and we also apply a watermark, registrar signature, and transcript legend to each request. The digital signature at the top does not allow the student or recipient to tamper with that transcript in any way or form. If it was tampered with for whatever reason, there would be a red X over that blue ribbon signifying to the recipient that it had been tampered with. Our Electronic Exchange Plus service is a new service we are offering. Electronic Exchange has been around at the Clearinghouse for a long time, which is our in-network exchange from school to school or school to educational organization. But we do also have our ETX Plus, which is our new UI schools can sign up for to easily receive transcripts. You only have one login and one place to retrieve them via the Clearinghouse secure site. You don't have to go to multiple places with multiple logins to receive your transcripts. This is also free of charge to your institution. There's no cost to sign up to receive or send transcripts. And I don't think I mentioned earlier, but our CAS system, we have a partnership with all of the CASs, so PharmCAS, NursingCAS, LSAC, AMCAS, where we have eliminated that additional document that gets sent with the transcript, and instead the student enters in their CAS ID right on the ordering screen, and we save it until we get the transcript back from you all, and then apply it in the header and send it off to the organization. And those are all sent via our electronic exchange network. So no more paper transcripts to those organizations. They all go through electronically, which cuts down on the processing time and allows students to get enrolled and admitted into these institutions quicker. Next. So our secure print service, we can print and mail transcripts on your school's behalf. We can print them during the weekend, during holidays, everything like that. So you don't have to be in your office to print and mail a transcript. We can do so for you via our printing facility. It is a secure facility that is FIGMA SOC 2 compliant. Next. And we will configure your transcript to look as your printed one does today. So we will get your watermark, transcript legend, registrar signature, and apply all of those to the paper transcript. So this is a great alternative for your institution, since during this time, many of you cannot be in your school's offices. We can easily print and mail out your transcripts by getting an electronic transcript back from you and printing and mailing from our secure print facility. We have multiple delivery options available for our print delivery option as well, including Express. So I just talked about transcript services that we can offer for you, all of the different services. We can get you up and running today on our ordering and fulfillment site, and then we can, over the next couple of weeks, also work with you to get integrated and automated with either our faster or fastest solution. But we also have our student self-service, a secure site available also for your students to use. As Paul mentioned, we have about 1,000 schools active with the service, but this allows your students to easily be authenticated over to our site via logging in on your school secure site to obtain their enrollment certificates to provide to healthcare providers, insurance, automobile insurance companies, anyone to get a reduced rate on their bills. So they can easily log in, be authenticated over, and then pull up an enrollment certificate, either current or all. They can also see their student loan deferment notification, so when we notified their lenders, and we can also show proof of enrollment. At the very bottom, you also see a link to our transcript ordering side, so you can also link your students from Student Self-Service over to our transcript ordering site, and they are authenticated over via SSN or student ID, so we can eliminate that FERPA consent form because they've already been authenticated over, or waive it, and we also remove the SSN and student ID fields so they do not have to enter those in. Next slide. Here's an example of an all enrollment certificate that we can provide. We do add a specific statement from your school at the very bottom of the certificate, but it does show each enrollment that your student has had at your school. And if you do, if the student did attend multiple schools, they can see that on here as well. Next. So I touched on enrollment certificates as well as transcripts, but we can also do printing of diplomas as well as electronic certified diplomas as well. So you can set up a digital certified electronic diploma within as little as 2 weeks. This can be prepaid by your school, or it can be student paid if you want them to pay for it. It is integrated with our student portal, MyHub, which Paul will be talking about right after me. We do have a print relationship with that we would get these diplomas certified for your school, and it takes 6 weeks to get to production. Many production options include print type signatures and rich features, and we can ship these directly to your students on your behalf.
So thank you, Samantha. And I guess this is coming back to me to talk about MyHub. I realize we're nearing the end. We want to leave some time for Q&A, but I want to talk about two different things I think are going to be extreme. Can you go back? That's fine. You can leave it here. I want you to think for a minute, close your eyes, if you will, and just think about the institutions you've been to, the degrees you've earned, multiple degrees, multiple institutions, certificates that you might have earned through your career. And just as you open your eyes now to see this, MyHub is a comprehensive portal that the National Student Clearinghouse is opening. Unfortunately, this was going to be our big push at ACRO. We had a lot of information and a lot of really positive vibes about MyHub. But it's a comprehensive portal where all data is pre-populated. So it can include enrollment, it can include transcript, diploma records on files, certificates, badges, diplomas. Go ahead and next. And again, if you think about what we talked about, if you look at yourself for degrees earned, we have 94%. We already talked about that, of the degrees in the United States. And we could post those degrees here for you, for the student. Colleges attended, we have enrollment information, enrollment statistics. We could post that information here for you. Your enrollment history would be available because we have that on file. So we already have the majority of these three pieces here. So what we could include, and what this can include depending on the institution's desires, are additional courses, course and grade data, credentials from badges, certificates. And so again, think of a single destination fully populated with schools' permission. ACRO, we've talked for years about a co-curricular transcript, and it's not one that everybody's decided on the same thing. So you could post, you could put your co-curricular transcript here. Certificates, it's accessible. And I think really the piece that we think is so important looking toward the future is the record sharing and skills and attainment gap closure that this can lead to, not in phase 1, but in phases 2 and 3, to allow you to help students through data that is collected be able to see their vision from move to point A and point B, hence a brighter future. Next. The second thing I just want to talk about and spend less than a minute, and you can hit the next slide, is using StudentTracker. And the reason I think it's important in today's times, the reason I wanted to include this is just quickly to talk about, most of you have StudentTracker, and if you don't, it's a service that probably you should have. And many of you have invested in StudentTracker Premium. But StudentTracker in today's time, what I thought about as we were preparing this, is it allows you to search either individually or by a multiple screen to show subsequent enrollments. So somebody's not muted, so if you check that, please. If you look at subsequent enrollment, where did your students attend after leaving me? As we look at the predictions of this fall and this summer, would it be important for you to be able to run a query to say, these students left, these students didn't come back, where are they? and you can do that. From the admission standpoint, declined admissions here, as students who applied for admission that didn't come, where do they go? And because of your participation with us, we have that information available and can share it back to you. You can track longitudinal cohorts across multiple years, and you can also look to see, hey, prior attendance, where did my students go who are coming to me for the first time. So you can do this by file. We run this through the clearinghouse database, compile a report back. Again, it's something, and you can hit the next slide, it's something that I would recommend that you consider. And while we're moving into the Q&A period here, we posted now the regional directors who work with various states, so you can see who your regional director is. And while we're finishing up with the Q&A, you can see their email address, get their telephone numbers, and I would encourage you to reach out to them at any point in time to ask any questions, and we will be following up with you with one email. So, Melanie?
Sorry about that. I'm having a couple of technical difficulties. I hope you can all hear me.
We can.
Excellent. I have switched to my phone instead of my computer. I am going to move to the Q&A section, and I see a couple of questions. First is there a list of requirements for institutions, a list of items in which the institution must prepare and deliver for considering the faster option?
Samantha, you got that? Okay, Paul can take that. You would work with your regional director. There would be documentation that would be provided to you on the specifics of the file submission, the file data elements. And again, as Samantha said in that presentation, once you sign an agreement with us, and that's a non-binding agreement, she said she was muted by, she was muted by Acro. Okay, so Samantha, if you got anything to add to this, but once you sign an agreement, you're assigned an implementation person, you have your regional director, and you have your client management representative all working with you on the project. So Samantha, anything you want to add there?
Nope, you got it right. The implementation folks will walk you through each step of the process and what is needed, and we do provide a document upfront available for you guys to review on what's needed, so you can have everything ready if you'd like, or we can do it step by step with you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, another question is, with the increase in institutions using the service, are your turnaround times still as advertised?
Yep, our times are still the same. We've actually seen processing times decrease less than 15 minutes for transcript services. So during our peak season this year, which is our January peak season, we saw processing times between 13 to 15 minutes. And so that's our highest volume so far this year. And so it's lower than that at this time right now.
Fantastic. Let's see. Here is another question very specific to a situation. It says, we're in the process of implementing Genzabar 1 SIS, and when do you think would be the ideal time to do the fastest implementation?
Samantha, you want that? Go ahead.
I'll answer it. Yep, it depends on your school's needs. If you currently don't have an online ordering platform, we suggest you get up and running with our fast solution today. But if you already have an online ordering and fulfillment solution and want to just switch to the fastest real-time integrated solution, once you have your platform up and running with Genzabar, I'd say right after that we can kick it off with you to start that integration piece.
Thank you so much. Another question is asked, if someone is in the Middle East, who would be the regional contact?
I can answer that. I think if you just push the question to Sue Ledwell, she'll field that question and get you to the right person. You can see Sue's contact information on the screen here.
Fantastic.
Once again, I'd like to encourage everybody to mute. Melanie?
Yeah, I'm looking here and I don't see any other questions. So I think we maybe have managed to answer them all.
Well, Melanie, I actually see a couple, and I was trying to ping you. I couldn't get to you. This is Sue Ledwell. There was one about interest in third-party ordering, in which we would send transcripts to exchange partners.
Yeah, that would be great if you would answer that, because I had a bunch of Q&A questions that have disappeared since my reboot. So maybe if you see some others, I'm going to let you manage the next few.
Okay. Samantha, you want to talk about third-party ordering?
Sure. So we actually will have our third-party ordering for admissions officers and school officials to order transcripts on behalf of a student that will be attending their school by the end of June, beginning of July. So watch out via email and our webinar site for more information on that to come in the next couple weeks.
Melanie, there was a couple more that came in.
I can read them if you'd like.
Okay.
So one question I see, could you confirm if institutions with legacy systems have the ability to configure their order form to only permit students who attended on certain dates to request mail orders only?
Yes.
There it is.
Yes.
Easy.
Yep. So that's our legacy archive question on the first page of our ordering screen, and it's a configurable question, so we can word it however your school would need us to.
I have another one. As part of Secure Print, can an institution upload a graduate file to send electronic transcripts to students?
If you're referring to the student not ordering, and as a courtesy, your school's going to send transcripts to all your recently graduated students, that feature is actually coming this summer. So look out for more information on that, but we will have that available during this summertime for your school. So either summer graduates or your fall graduates.
Hey, Melanie, this is Paul, and I realize that we're getting preciously near the end of the hour, and we want to be respectful of other people's times. Looks like we just have a couple minutes left. There's one thing I'd like to say, and then for the questions that have not been answered, the clearinghouse will process those and get back individual answers to you. I apologize that we are not going to have time to get all the questions onto the screen, unless, Melanie, we have the ability, once we've closed, to continue to answer questions, but I want to be respectful of the 3 o'clock close. So what's your advice?
I would say let's have people put the rest of their questions in Q&A while we wrap up,
Okay.
and then we can follow up individually with the rest.
So, I just want to thank everybody. I mean, your time is so valuable, and I realize that, especially in this time frame. And I just want to, we've been partners. We've been your trusted partner in many cases for 25 years or more. The Clearinghouse shares your vision of the higher education community, and the services that we've developed through the years are those that, you needed to meet your needs. All of the services that we have come from our institutions. But I'd want to finish with this. As your partners, we can help you make the impact that you desire. Our view coming up is going to include scorekeeping in the post-COVID world in terms of data, how that data has impacted your decisions and decision-making. And we have to thank you, every one of you, because you help us provide this information in a communal environment by continuing to share your data through the trusted partnership, which enables us then to share data with the global education community. And I thank every one of you and wish you the safest the safest time possible as we work through this. Thanks, Melanie. And thanks to my colleagues.
Thank you, Paul. So this concludes the Q&A, and we will collect the rest of the questions that were unanswered, and we will work with the clearinghouse to make sure that you all get answers to your questions. Next slide. For those of you who need much more specific and tailored guidance in very specific institutional issues, Acro Consulting has marshaled expertise to offer heavily discounted express consulting sessions priced at $9.95 to support your unique challenges with seasoned expertise and actionable recommendations. For more information, contact consulting@acro.org. Next slide. Again, a reminder that also in this series, there are 2 other webinars that you can view: the archive of transcript processing made simple with Parchment. And on Wednesday, May 6th, we have DIY transcript and document solutions, sustaining business continuity during challenging times, with colleagues from the Acro Speedy Committee. We also have a couple of other topics coming up. Friday, May 1st, we have enrollment planning for COVID-19 and beyond. On Tuesday, May 5th, we will talk about our search for an executive director with the upcoming retirement of Mike Riley, and the Acro Board of Directors will be online to talk about that. And on Friday, May 8th, we will be talking about athletics eligibility in times of crisis, and we'll have panelists from NCAA, NJCAA, and NAIA to answer your questions and share their resources. More information on these, along with registration, is available online at acro.org/COVID guidance. I thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.